in Odyssey, a bicentennial project of the DC Community Humanities Council.
During the 1970s and 80s, Washington, D.C. experienced an unprecedented flow of immigrants from Central America. Many left their native lands seeking to escape political or economic turmoil, even death. In many cases, they came with very little in the way of material wealth or marketable skills, and often they could not speak English. In 1981, the Spanish-speaking people of Washington, D.C. came mostly from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Colombia, creating their own barrio in the city's Adams Morgan Mount Pleasant neighborhoods. In this segment of the D.C. Community Humanities Council's Urban Odyssey series, we hear the story of Carmen Monaco, who came to the city in 1982 from El Salvador. Her life is not unlike many of the city's Latino newcomers. Monico's struggle to escape danger in her homeland foreshadowed her subsequent struggle to make Washington, D.C. a place of hope in a new land.
Duérmete, mi amor, duérmete, pedazo de mi corazón. Esta niña linda que nació de día, quiero que la lleve a la dulcería. Esta niña hermosa que I wonder who is calling at this time, in this moment. Hello? Yes, this is Carmen. What? A social security number. Oh, Virgen Santísima, yes. I'll pay. How much is it? So expensive? I don't know if I can get the money together by then. I guess I'll ask my cousin for help. I know she will do me the favor. I know it's false, but I need to work. I'll change my name if I have to. Yes. I'll meet you there. Bye. The next day, I had my social security number. And from that day, I was Rosa Maria Ramos. Even in English, it sounds pretty, no? Rosa Maria Ramos. What about it? That spring day, Rosa Maria Ramos, the refugee displaced by war, the Salvadoran immigrant, the Monaco wetback, the undocumented Latina was born. Rosa Maria, the invisible one without rights. Rosa Maria, the mask of Carmen Monaco. Life in Washington, D.C., like life in any other city, has its problems and, of course, its joys. But exile, it's really difficult. It's like belonging to two different worlds. The homeland that we leave and the country that receives us. Those of us who leave our countries come here with different reasons. Adventure, war, poverty, injustice. If we look around us, our neighborhoods, our blocks, the buildings where we live, all prove this. A great mix of races and peoples. I like knowing my neighbors. My daughters have integrated with children from other cultures. I think it's easier for children. They don't have the prejudices we adults have. I think they feel they are Salvadoran, but Salvadoran from this country. By the way, do you know where El Salvador is? No, don't think that I'm going to discuss geography with you. No, not geography. I only want to tell you that I come from El Salvador, a country located in Central America. El Salvador is so small that the poet baptized it El Pulgarcito, the little thumb of America. Sí, señores. El Salvador is so small, but the problems that we face are enormous. It seems that I left my hometown, San Miguel, a short time ago. San Miguel is in the eastern department, or what you would call state of San Miguel. Like New York, New York, San Miguel, San Miguel. San Miguel is a capital city, not a national capital like Washington, but a state capital. It's a small city built around a volcano. It's part of an agricultural area where people raise cattle and grow cotton and anakin. You know, anakin, the fiber to make ropes and baskets. Oh, yes. Once San Miguel was a very peaceful place. But I decided to take my mother's advice to go to San Salvador. Hija, you have to go to the university. It's going to cost us a fortune, but we will make the sacrifice. I want you to become a professional, to learn to support yourself, to be independent. I went to San Salvador, the capital of my country, in 1978. I was beginning my second year of school, and we were studying at a girlfriend's apartment when we heard a loud noise in the street. What's happening outside? Why are so many people shouting? Somebody said to look below. We looked down. There was a huge crowd of people marching in the street. They carried signs and they were shouting slogans against the government. On the other side of the street, there were soldiers with a weapon pointed at the crowd. A man in uniform yelled at them to stop where they were. The people moved on. A soldier yelled, "Fire!" The killing horrified me. Dead bodies, blood splashing the walls, wounded people dragging themselves towards safety, screams of pain. Oh, people running. What shall we do? What shall we do? We asked one another. Julia suggested we get organized and help. Our work was intensive. As time passed and the violence grew, we formed an organization and it began to grow. Thousands of people, entire families without food, shoes, or clothing arrived to the capital. Different student groups began trying to help the displaced meet their basic needs. We never had enough food, enough clothing for everyone who needed help. It was the middle of 1979. I was in a hurry to get to the university. Pucha, I'm going to be late for the meeting. Oh, what a surprise I'm going to give them. How will they react when I say, compañeros, hemos recibido 60, we have received 60 boxes of used clothing, 35 tents family size, 10 sacks of rice, 5 buckets of lard, and hey, what are you doing to him? I know him. He is Luis, an engineering student. Why are you kicking him like that? Hey, please listen. Stop hitting him like that. No, I won't shut up. You are the ones who have cockroaches in the brain. What? He's not a terrorist. Hey, I don't care if you think I'm a guerrilla. Stop hitting him like that, please. Stop. They killed him in front of my eyes. I still hear that noise in my head.
Radio Venceremos announces that the government, the military, and paramilitary death squads continue to intensify their genocide against the Salvadoran people. Despite the heavy bombing, the FMLN will not be pushed back. The Farabundo Martí guerrilla movement, the civilian population has forced the government to take up arms against the threat of international communism. International communism endangers national security and the peace and democracy of the Salvadoran people. The American government has promised to support.
2 weeks later, there were 3 telephone calls. Hello? Hello? Who is this? Cleaning service? What leftist? Hello? You again? What are you talking about? I'm not hiding anything. I don't care if you think I'm a communist. Those people need our help. Hello? You again? Hey, don't threaten me, okay? I am not afraid of your threats. What visit are you talking about? Death squads? An old lady in my neighborhood told me, Carmen, you are very young. At the speed you are going, you're not going to die of old age. Mija, the devil is the devil, not because he's the devil, but because he's old. Listen to me. Mija, go north, váyase para el norte. And whatever you do, remember this. Don't let them deport you back to San Salvador. It will be your end. That same night, I talked to my mother. And I decided that my daughter, Carla, and I would leave the next morning. People without passports pay coyotes to help them cross the border. What's that you said, Don Alfonso? It costs $2,000 now to cross the border? I had to pay $700 twice. That's right. You either make it or they will send you back. The first coyote I met was small and muscular. A beard covered his face. Give me your daughter, he said. You can't cross the same route together. What? Give you my daughter? You coyotes are nothing but businessmen who play upon our necessity and vulnerability. No, I'm not going to give you my daughter. What? What do you mean you will send me back? Are you crazy? Protesting didn't help. I had to give Carla to him. If anything happens to her, please take care of her. She is the only one I have. The next morning, a day in November of 1981, a group of us waited at the banks of a Rio Grande River. You could see that everyone was nervous, but determined. Leave your belongings here, the coyote said. We're going to swim across the river. My heart turned over. Which I didn't know how to swim, but I didn't tell anyone. I kept thinking about Carla to give myself courage. We were about to swim across the river when we heard, "Stop, Mexican immigration." I froze. I overheard immigration say, "These people are crazy. How could they think that they are going to cross this channel? The current is strong. Many have drowned here." I consoled myself that El Divino Salvador had saved us. My daughter Carla could have ended up an orphan. We were taken prisoners and chained together with handcuffs like delinquents. For several weeks, we were isolated from outside contact. The jail cells, what a nightmare. You can imagine it, no? You could take about 4 steps. It smelled like urine. And the bed, a dirty mattress full of holes. Outside from my tiny window of the jail cell, I could hear the roosters crowing. But I was so tired, I couldn't sleep. The walls wept with humidity. Even the cockroaches stayed away. Everything hurt me. But nothing hurt me more as not knowing where Carla was. Towards the end of 1981, we were moved to Mexico City. There, I was able to contact the family we knew in California. How happy I felt when I learned that Carla was healthy and safe. She had passed the border as a baby boy with an American passport. Do you know what crossing the border is like? Now I laugh when I remember it. I did it in the trunk of a car. My body was numb. The heat was unbearable. I couldn't breathe. But it was better than swimming, no? You know what they say? They say that it takes 15 minutes to cross the border. Que va, it felt like it took 15 months. Get out, I heard somebody say. And give me the rest of the money. Light flooded my eyes. It was San Diego. It looked like the nativity scenes we make in my country for Christmas. Pucha, I have arrived. But happiness never lasts long. When I arrived to Los Angeles, I saw my daughter Carla. Carla, what are you crying so, mi amor? What's happening? What's wrong, mi amor? I'm your mamita, your mama. Has it been so long? Oh, what a terrible experience. Since I didn't have a social security number, I spent 3 months looking for work. A friend told me I might have better luck in Washington, D.C. Luckily, I had a cousin there. I called her, and she told me that I could stay at her house. Come, she said. We will work something out. Prima, it's a good thing you brought us to the White House. I always wanted to see it. Maybe if I move a little bit to the left, here. What cheese? And what smile? Prima, maybe if you move a little bit to the left, a little further away so that you can see the White House, not just the fence. Hurry, take the picture. Look, Prima, over there. Are those actors? What? Homeless? What's that? Here in the United States? No, hombre. You're kidding me, Prima. That can't be. They reminded me of the displaced people in my country. Human beings sleeping in cardboard boxes. Such poverty in front of the White House. No, I couldn't believe that. I couldn't get that into my head. Prima, if it's true that they are houseless or hostless, whatever you call it, why don't they have a place to sleep? This country is wealthy. But what do you mean? But Prima, what liberty are you talking about? The freedom to suffer hunger and cold? No, Prima, that's not freedom. Some of you who have visited other countries can understand how a foreigner feels when she doesn't speak the language. Any foreigner who visits another country and doesn't speak the language is like E.T. It must be for something that they call us aliens. People speak to you. You listen. You try to understand. But you don't understand anything. People look at you as if you were from another planet. the first few months. The first 2 or 3 months, really the first 6 months are very difficult. My first 6 months during the winter of 1982 were really difficult. Can you imagine a single woman with a baby in arms, no money, no work, and no English, trying to make it in DC? It's really rough. And I know so many Latinos who are in this position. Luckily, I had a cousin who was willing to help, and some neighbors I could depend on. After a while, I found work in a tortilla factory owned by Mexicans. Have you tried tortillas? Tortillas are the bread of my people. My workmates were all Salvadoran men. I was the only woman. I had the position of catcher, the one who caught and stacked the tortillas after they had been cooked, like this. We worked from 3 in the afternoon to 3 in the morning, 12 hours of work and only a half hour of rest. After a few weeks, my hands were all blisters. The owners of the business thought we had bodies of saints. We didn't eat and we didn't have bodily functions. So we workers did our best to manage. We ate tortillas with salt and we took turns to cover each other to go to the restroom. They paid us a miserable wage. Boy, I get so mad thinking about how they took advantage of us, undocumented workers. In 1983, a neighbor, Don Pedro, told me, "Look, Carmen, do you know that they have started Crecen and Carecen?" Well, they are community agencies helping Central American refugees, mostly Salvadorans, the largest group of immigrants arriving to Washington, D.C. I went, I investigated, and that same day I started working for the displaced as I had done in El Salvador. During that time, the sanctuary movement was born. I'd like to thank you for coming to hear me tonight. My name is Rosa Maria Ramos. My voice is the voice of thousands of Salvadoran refugees displaced by war. My daughter and I have come to Washington looking for refuge. Some of us have received your kindness and solidarity, but many others are being deported. Thanks to Sanctuary, we are less invisible. Yes, damas y caballeros, you can touch us. You can see that we are flesh and blood. Carla continued growing. The city treated me well. I didn't feel like an outsider any longer. I had begun the process of getting my residency and I was waiting for a reply. I began to meet other people who live in Washington, D.C., African Americans, Asians, whites, and Hispanics from other cultures. Gracias. Mil gracias, Divino Salvador. Finally, this miracle of the green card is fulfilled. So many years of waiting. It took 10 years until it finally came. It changed colors. It's not green anymore, but pink. At last, I can travel without problems. At last, I can work and I can hope for something better for my daughters. But my compatriots, what will happen to them? This is Washington, D.C., the capital. It's not only a city for diplomats, bureaucrats, politicians, or people who work in international organizations. It's a city that belongs to the busboys who clean tables. Have you seen them? It also belongs to the dishwashers hidden in restaurant kitchens, washing dishes. It belongs to the ones who babysit children, or clean homes, or dust offices. This is the other Washington that the movies don't show. Many Salvadorans want to be invisible, but they can't be. They are everywhere, in churches, in parks, in restaurants, in metros. Don Chepe, Doña Mencha, isn't it true that our presence isn't only the festival, the Hispanic festival? It's not only floats or typical foods, dances, or flags. This is all wonderful, yes, but we have a life that is so much more. This diversity, I am sure, is our greatest asset. We are part of a multicultural Washington. And now that you have heard my voice, I like to add it to yours. What do you think?
Si me deportan, te aseguro yo te llevo en el alma de mi guitarra. Te aseguro yo te quiero como quiero a mi guitarra. Por eso quiero cantar, por eso quiero reír, por eso quiero llorar. Soy legal. Pero si vas, te llevaré a mi pueblo y ahí podrás sacarle tiempo al tiempo. Por eso yo quiero ser como el agua y como el viento, para poderte querer, aunque sea por un momento. Por eso yo quiero ser como el agua y como el viento, para poderte querer,